Viewer beware.
Good evening, and welcome back to Viewer Beware. It's been a while, but I like to believe, like a fine wine, things get better with age, including my opinion on Canadian children's TV shows. Today's episode we have Return of the Mummy. Return of the Mummy is actually an interesting episode because it's one of the few that's actually based on a sequel book and not the original. It takes elements of the original book, Curse of the Mummy, and mixes it with the sequel, Return of the Mummy, so it all kind of flows together anyway. In this story, we see our main character fly all the way to Cairo, and then mummy hijinks ensue. It's on the tin, right? What you see there, it's what it is. Without further ado, let's just roll into what gives us bumps in this episode. We have 2 confirmed dead bodies, 1 deadly curse, 1 crawling hand, 1 Beauty to Beetle transformation, and of course the best scream in Canadian children's horror history. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and roll it. We open with an establishing shot of the pyramids and our over-eager protagonist Gabe visiting his archaeologist Uncle Ben and cousin Sari. Like all archaeologists, Ben discovers an ancient Egyptian tomb and establishes a secret dig where the entirety of the crew appears to be himself and 2 children. Gabe even goes on to explain that the tomb is full of traps and dead-end paths to confuse and deter people from doing exactly what they are doing. Perfect place for a child. When entering the tomb, Sari pulls a tiny mummified hand out of Gabe's bag, where he explains it's an ancient artifact called a summoner he bought at the airport.
I hope you didn't pay too much. That's one of the oldest scams around.
Gabe wants to take a picture of his uncle and cousin and immediately tosses the summoner to the ground because, fuck that thing. The summoner crawls away from Gabe while he's taking his picture, but he just kind of shrugs it off and picks it back up. Gabe comments several times about the creepiness of the tomb, and then immediately becomes separated and lost.
Creepy. I'd hate to be stuck in here all by myself.
They barely got through the front door and Uncle Ben is already down 1 child. Gabe, running through the tombs, is struggling to find his family, but to their credit they did leave him a trail of hanging lamps. He just chooses to ignore them. He falls through a trap door and discovers a neat-looking lion head that has a toy snake shoved in its mouth. Those Egyptians, always such tricksters. Uncle Ben drops a rope down to Gabe and they regroup back at camp, where Gabe shows a picture of the lion head with the toy snakes, which, coincidentally, is the entrance to the tomb.
This is the entrance to the prince's tomb.
He fell into it. That doesn't count.
Uncle Ben tells the kids he's sending a work crew down to clear the entrance of snakes, and then I assume tells the workers to screw off so they can't file a child endangerment lawsuit. Gabe realizes he lost a summoner in the fall, and Uncle Ben gives him a replacement scarab stuck in amber. I guess this constitutes an even trade in ancient times. A random woman then walks into their tent and claims to be a reporter for the Cairo Sun, which is enough information for Ben to give her the all clear. Never mind that this is supposed to be a secret dig site that nobody else knows about. She wants to go into the tomb with the family, and Ben has her talk to Gabe about finding the front door.
He fell into it.
Where she sees the scarab necklace that Gabe just got and says she has one just like it. Which this really shouldn't be surprising, as it feels like a pretty common trinket. You could probably get one of those also at the airport. But even Uncle Ben is taken aback by this revelation.
How very unusual.
Gabe notices that her necklace has no scarab in it and is just amber, which feels like she got ripped off and should probably get her $8.95 back from the airport. One of the workers sees the photos of the tomb entrance and warns that it is cursed and someone will die. I don't know what he expected them to do once they found the tomb, but I digress.
I cannot stay.
What was that all about?
The reporter confirms that there have been missing people who have tried to find the tomb before, which Uncle Ben claims is hogwash. He even gives Gabe a cursed chant to say.
The ancient legend says that if you repeat the sacred words 3 times, Charu, Chara, Chari, the mummy will be awakened from his sleep.
The next day, Uncle Ben gets a hammer and smacks the lion off the wall, letting the stone door slide open like they're strolling into a Walmart. Once in the supposed tomb, Sari goads Gabe into saying the chant, which causes a strange wind to blow. probably nothing, but also probably mummies. Sari notices the summoner sitting in a crack in the wall, and when Gabe goes to grab it, he gets grabbed back. Now this is obviously a hand grabbing him through the wall, pretty serious sign of mummy activity, but his uncle just stands there laughing at him. Sari even rolls her eyes as if she can't see the man-sized hand clutching his arm through the ancient glory hole, eventually leading them both to get dragged through the wall and Uncle Ben to be knocked out with a bad case of incompetence. While searching for an exit from the trap room, Gabe stumbles across a skeleton and lets out the best scream in the series. This scream lives in my head rent-free. Gabe and Sari decide to walk further into the tomb and discover the treasure room and sarcophagus. They both decide to pop open the sarcophagus, which is a pretty impressive feat. After a quick Google search, I found that a sarcophagus typically weighs about 7 tons. And if the lid is even a quarter of that weight, these kids have to be absolutely jacked. But after they pop open the lid, they discover there is no body in the body holder. Except surprise, here comes the mummy. Was he waiting in that corner for centuries just to jump scare someone? The world may never know. What we do know is that Gabe was infinitely more afraid of the skeleton than an actual reanimated corpse. Out comes the reporter in full costume, claiming to be the mummy's sister, which she then demands that the mummy kills the kids. But he turns out to be like a really chill mummy and just snatches her chain and smashes it. This, for some reason, turns her into a beetle. You would think with 4,000 years to plan this moment, she wouldn't have her plans foiled so quickly and easily. But we only have 20 minutes of runtime. What did you expect? Gabe runs over and grabs the summoner to try to control the mummy, but when that doesn't work, he just throws it in the fire. This in turn causes the tomb to crumble apart, which apparently lets the kids go all the way back to where they started, wake up the uncle, and get out. Again, 20-minute runtime. What did you expect? We had a lot of plot here. Sometimes you just gotta cut the plot thread short. Back at the campsite, Gabe swears off of mummy expeditions while the summoner crawls back to his bag, unknowingly going back to New York with him. To do what? Who knows? Is it bad? Maybe. Does it work as a cliffhanger? Not really. And so we wrap up with our summoner traveling back to New York with Gabe. To do what? We don't know. Best case scenario, it gets in like the Smithsonian and like a night at the museums, that bitch. But, you know, long-term plan, I mean, it just sits on a shelf, maybe scoots around. Regardless of that, primo episode. It's one of the best of the series, at least of the first season. And for that, I'm giving it 3.75 gooses out of 5 total potential bumps. And honestly, that's solid. That's shooting above par. Wait, that's bad. That's shooting under par. But I'd like to continue this series, go a little further. I know I'm really slow at uploading episodes, but you know, life, it's hard. But I'm working on it. Now we're gonna keep pushing forward from here, and I think you're gonna like the next few episodes. They're pretty solid stuff. But just make sure you subscribe, like this video, and then we'll keep it rocking, keep it rolling, keep it rocking and rolling, and you know, keep watching VHSdinosaurGO on YouTube so that I have a reason to live. I don't know.